I do like the part like Alex mentioned about, people not taking so much of the context of what Justin Herbert is experiencing at Oregon into account in their evaluation. To me, especially with how little I was able to study, it was just, okay, here's, half a dozen games. Here's what I see, yada, yada. That's the grade that I gave him. But, so much context goes into it. And then also just even with like Chris Rumpf, I also have to take into account where they can go, where they can develop. Because with Chris Rumpf, the whole thing was I wasn't a super fan of the college stuff. And if you watch him against Notre Dame, he was getting killed. But you see what he could potentially do. And in the right situations, he could become good. Of course, what does he do? Works out with Khalil Mack, learns from Joey Bosa, and gets drafted by Brandon Staley. And of course, now you see that he's starting to hopefully become, better than he ever really possibly could be. So same thing with Herbert. Yeah, there were certain, deficiencies. He wasn't getting past his first read. There were certain issues, but then the summer comes, and what do great players do? They work hard, they get better. And of course, he got much, much better. And then suddenly week 2 happens, and here we are. So it definitely changed my evaluation process for sure. That's why I think I can think more highly of someone like a Justin Fields, where, I mean, he was great anyway, but I think some people that were taking away from him and just focusing on what he can't do, I think you want to focus on what they can do and what they could do if they're good players. So Herbert, the whole Herbert experience has been quite a change for all of us as fans, as evaluators, and maybe as people, because now we will advocate for more cart pushing back.
Yeah, now we're all going to go put our carts back where they belong. No. I agree. I'm on team putting carts back as well. But you're right, Tyler. Like, I think the Justin Herbert experience has definitely changed things for me. And it was just a really needed refresher that the sport of football in general is progressive. I was saying on Twitter, like the University of Utah, of course, had to talk about my guys. But, they were struggling in the first half to kind of put Weber State away. And everybody on Twitter, Utah Twitter, was like freaking out. Like, this team is trash. We're going to lose to Oregon. We're going to lose to USC. Like, all of our goals are shot. And it's like, no, like, that's not the case, especially for college teams. Like, there is growth that happens throughout the season for these teams. And the same thing for, players who are going into the NFL. Like, growth happens if they can land in the right spot, which is, kind of what I forgot about Chris Rumpf, excuse me. So there is this definitely this culture of like who these players are is who they are going to be, and that's just not the case. And so the Justin Herbert thing, Chris Rumpf, like it's good refreshers for everybody to realize like these people can make progress just like anybody else. Like, all of us can start a new job and we make progress, or all of us can get a second degree, or get a promotion and we make progress. And it's the same thing with football players. So that was a good reminder. And I loved his quote about leadership. Like, you don't have to be the rah-rah guy to be a good leader. At the end of the day, this is me paraphrasing, but I loved how basically he was saying, people just want to see you be your authentic self. And that really is what it comes down to. And so I know, me and Tyler kind of grew up in this football culture of like, everybody has to be a macho man and everybody has to be a yeller. And I'm so glad that we're moving away from that kind of culture and allowing someone like Justin Herbert, who is not ever going to be a rah-rah guy. He's not ever going to be the guy who's going to tough it out through, an ACL injury or things like that. I'm so glad we're moving past that. And, I'm a firm believer in what LT said in his Hall of Fame speech, where like football is a microcosm of America. Like everybody can come together on a football team, or at least should be able to come together on a football team and have a role and have a place where they feel like they can belong. And so really reading about Justin Herbert's mentality as a leader, like it really resonated with me. And I'm so glad that the Chargers have him, and that football is in a place where we can accept a player like him.
Yeah. Well said, Stephen.